Evening, ladies and gents, how are you doing? There's a bombshell coming today. Well, unless they lie about the numbers. From the BBC 9 hours ago, nationalities of foreign criminals to be published by Joe Pike. I tell you what, there's going to be some surprises in there, isn't there? I bet we're all going to be astounded at the amount of Italians and Danes and Canadian backpackers that are filling our prisons, aren't we? No, we're definitely not. In fact, this is a great story. We can put some bets on. I'll take anyone's money. Everyone with eyes knows who the biggest pain up the arse is, which means everybody with a brain knows that we should have very, very, very strict limits on some countries and quite lax ones on others, shouldn't we? Logically, we all know people from the Anglosphere should have an easier time coming to the UK than members of the Albanian mafia. This is a point people like me have been making for a decade, but it's just too logical for ministers of parliament. So we'll read the story, and there's a few very interesting tidbits in it. And I'll sum up, and I might take the piss out of Yvette Cooper for a bit because she's here, it's got to be done. Right then, there's some interesting bits in this story. It says that it's the first time that nationalities of foreign criminals are going to be released to the public. Yeah, apparently it's the first time it's ever happened. It says Home Secretary Yvette Cooper is understood to have ordered officials to publish the data, including crimes that have been committed, by the end of the year. Why does it take so long? Why couldn't they do it tomorrow? Are they going to be scrubbing it for a few things that maybe they don't think we should hear? And right off the bat, I don't trust that number. There were more than 19,000 foreign offenders awaiting deportation at the end of last year. Why only 19,000? Up from almost 18,000 when the Conservative... This is bollocks, isn't it? There's no way those numbers are accurate. 19,000. There's 19,000 Albanian gangsters in England these days. What about the other 25 countries that make up 90% of our registered sex offenders and drug dealers? A Home Office source said the government wanted the public to be better informed about foreign criminals, including where they come from. Yeah, because if there's one thing that springs to mind if I'm thinking of our government, it's that they definitely want the public to be better informed about where criminals come from. Definitely. They haven't spent decades lying to us about it, have they? No. They definitely want you to know that the vast majority of criminality in places like London and Manchester and Birmingham is being committed by blokes that shouldn't even be in the country in the first place. They definitely want you to know that, yeah. So they're definitely going to tell you all the facts. The Tories say that they're only doing it because Labour have buckled after being pressured to disclose the figures. In response, the government said that they can only make this possible because they ordered Home Office statisticians to overhaul their systems. Yeah, and when Labour say statisticians are overhauling their systems, that means they're just getting much, much better at telling lies. And this is the bit I wanted to bring to your attention because it's very interesting. Foreign nationals sentenced to 12 months or more in prison are subject to automatic deportation. Read it again. 12 months or more are subject to automatic deportation. Now hear me out, right? We've got soft courts, okay, that take a very light touch on any minority groups because they've been forced to under Shabzi Mahmood's virulently racist justice system. They're quite lax on these things. So let's think, do you think there's many crimes that people might be committing where they won't get sentenced to 12 months or more in prison? But maybe, I don't know, they aren't fine, upstanding members of society? Think of a few dozen, maybe? In fact, I'd go so far as to say if it's the first time you've been caught, there's almost nothing that you get more than 12 months in prison for in the UK. I can reel off the stories I've covered in the last couple of years of people that have sexually assaulted people, surprised sexed young women, diddled a few dozen kids, and they've got let off with community service or suspended sentences. Why are we keeping them around? Why? If they are criminal in any way, shape or form, deport them. Is this not popular with the general public? If I go to watch the latest Bond film and as soon as James starts necking on with his female counterpart, an Egyptian man behind me and my missus starts pulling the head off it, don't you think we'd be better off without him? I mean, that's not something you get sent to prison for. Cracking a pocket wank on the bus while you're watching teenagers kissing. The stuff I've seen swarthy third world men get up to, even on my last trip home, staggers me. Stuff that'd never result in a 12-month sentence. Fapping in public, snapping off a foot of brown cable next to a wheelie bin in the middle of the street, mugging someone, shoplifting, vandalism. No one gets more than 12 months for any of that stuff. And these people that we want hanging around, it's like the broken windows theory. If you sort out the little things, the big things get sorted out as well. That rule is ludicrous, and it's yet another do-gooder, hand-wringing, cringy lefty rule that they've just pulled out their arse from nowhere. And then when you complain about it, they go, it's the rules. Well, you make the rules, and you've rigged the system so the rules work for you. Nobody in their right mind thinks anyone who gets sentenced to 6 months in prison because he was leering at girls outside a primary school and then he slapped someone's mother. So because he's done a bit of slapping, the government does some slapping and gives him a slapped wrist and he gets 3 months suspended sentence for common assault. Nobody thinks that guy should be in the country. That rule shouldn't exist. The rule should be, if you've never paid a penny in income tax or national insurance contributions in the last 3 years, get out. I'm serious, and I don't think that's particularly right-wing. I'm not saying deport people just because of the nationality or what they look like. I'm saying deport anyone who's taking advantage and isn't being productive. If you've been sat on your fat ass ever since you moved to England, get out. And with regards to criminality, I'd go so far as to say anything. Anything more than a parking ticket. If you've been arrested and found guilty of a crime and they give you a suspended sentence or a fine, get out. We don't want you. Why that rule even exists stuns me. It's totally ridiculous. You will struggle to find anyone with 2 brain cells to rub together who thinks it's a good idea to keep a serial petty criminal and a vandal and a shoplifter inside the country and not deport him to his place of origin just because of some cockamamie rule, and he's only been sentenced to prison twice and both times it was like 5 or 6 months. Preposterous. Again, it'd all change quick if the politicians lived in any of these areas like Middlesbrough, where everywhere you walk there's a random third world man shitting in the street or leering at your children. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I'm ranting just a wee bit. The Home Secretary has the power to deport people who receive a shorter sentence if she decides their presence is not conducive to the public good, and she never does because she's a lefty arsehole. Home Office sources blame the increase in foreign criminals awaiting deportation on early releases due to prison overcrowding. Yes, because you let them all out, didn't you? You let them all out to make room for tweeters and nice middle-aged women who say things the government doesn't like. Yvette, you human chicken McNugget. Here's the good bit. We needed the Home Office to tell us that. Home Office figures are expected to show the 3 main nationalities for foreign criminals are Albanians, Romanians and Poles. Nah, I'm not having that. Not having that. Have you noticed that they just want to blame all of the Europeans? Romanians, yeah, I know that for a fact. The Dole office in my hometown, my dad said they have Romanian Dole Day, where the office is only open for them, and they have to have 10 interpreters and about 20 bouncers working on the door. I think Borough's the only place where the Dole office has got more bouncers than the nightclubs. But I digress. Albanians, yep, fair enough. But there's no way the Malis are on that list. Absolutely no way. Everyone knows an alright Paul who works hard. I've never met a one who had anything nice to say about the Malis. Not a one. I mean, you meet plenty of people who talk about how they know a few hard-working Nigerians as well, don't you? But the only thing I've ever heard, involving the Malis, positive, obviously, is something along the lines of, he had a very, very well-oiled and sharp machete. It's understood their most common offences were the production of drugs, theft, robbery and acts of violent assault. Yeah, but if you don't get 12 months, they're all fine. Fine. Nothing wrong with a little bit of theft and robbery and violent assault, is there? Government sources insist the change has only come about because of the Conservatives. Yeah, cheers then. So they got nothing done when they were in charge for 13 years, but now they want to take all the credit for this. Cheers easy. The source added, we want to ensure the public is kept better informed about the number of foreign criminals. And Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick said we'll finally see the hard reality. Finally. Yeah, well, we won't. If you believe that, you probably believe that God talks to you in your head every night and he tells you to kill women. No, that's not something that makes any sense. And if they want to be transparent, why is it always the source? Ooh, the source is telling us this. The source is usually when they're making shit up, isn't it? How many sources come out about Trump? Oh, he definitely slashed on a prossy's head. Definitely did that. The source told us. So this story's full of lies, as usual. And I'll believe it when I see it. But it will be interesting nonetheless to pore over the no doubt fictional figures to see who they're going to blame all of the lunacy on, and somehow explain to me a logical reason why blokes who get done for robbery and burglary and mugging and vandalism and public wanking aren't being deported because for some reason it is being deemed by Yvette Cooper to be conducive to the public good. Yeah, letting in millions of unvetted fighting men, definitely conducive to the public good, because it must be, right? Because apparently she's got the power to just deport anyone she wants, but we've let in 50,000 dinghy divers and none of them are getting through out, even though they all live in hotels and don't work. So they must be conducive to the public good. That's the only possible explanation for why the government doesn't instantly turn the boats around or sick the Navy on them. All right, so that's my 2 cents for the day. If you think the government are going to be honest and all of the criminals in England are from Norway, please let me know in the comments so I can point and laugh. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.